What's up? So finally got the ISO556 by Maruyama in. So this is going to just be my review of it. Right off the bat, I'll say I really like this gas-filled rifle. It's really lightweight, very ergonomic. I didn't like this stock at first. I thought it was kind of ugly because it reminded me of the Scar, the boot. But I gotta say, it's grown on me. So really quick, in its shortest configuration, it's 7.5 inches. But you can push in these two tabs and then extend the stock. So at its longest configuration, it is right about 10.5 inches long, right? Then you can also raise it twice. So that's 0, that's 1, and then 2. And also it folds and it does lock in place. So you can kind of like fold it. It's not super hard to, as you can see right there, the springs are kind of weak. So I guess if you want it, you can install a stronger spring to make that lock-in mechanism a lot tighter, but it's plastic, so that might damage it. I'll probably just leave the spring how it is, even though it's kind of weak. So that's the stock. For sights, I do have some IMI Defense sights. These are the actual sights that would come with the rifle, even though they are plastic. We just have some Magpul vertical foregrip, Magpul MOE Plus, the rubberized pistol grip. I really like this one. I have 2 of these. Up front, we just have some M-lock covers. I just place them normally where I place my hands. Normally on my rifles, I will attach a flashlight. On this one, I don't see myself really using this for CQB, so I don't see the need for a flashlight right here. Even though on a lot of my submachine guns and the PCCs, I do have flashlights. For this one, it just didn't feel necessary. I want to keep this as light as possible. So no flashlight. Really just wanted to keep it as minimal as possible. That's why on the front here, we have the tri-lug. Mainly because all of my tracer units, I do have tracer units inside of both of these, they're all tri-lug. So it just made sense to attach a tri-lug on here. So we got that. I might swap this out for maybe a QD, even though in my opinion tri-lug's better because it's quicker. Threading on a suppressor seems kind of stupid. QD, even though it's quicker than threading, it's not as quick as tri-lug. So I just like this one. So there we go. That's the outside. Now, for the sight, this is just a Trijicon MRO. So there you go. You can see it there. I'll fold this over so you guys can see the dot. This is probably the best quality MRO I've seen out there. So let's turn that off. Now these pins are still kind of stiff, especially the rear pin. So let me go ahead and knock these pins out. It's gonna be kind of loud. There we go. So that's the second time that's happened. Not a big deal, but it is just something that's annoying. The little clip right here, it just lets go of the pin sometimes. It's not too difficult to get it back in there. You just got to make sure you don't deform that little steel clip when you do it. There we go. Got it. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. If that happens, just slide it back in there, close that up. As far as the lower goes, it's pretty much, your fire control group is pretty much the same as your SCW non and your SPC non. So same hammer, same pin, same trigger. The in battery sear right here, in my opinion, this is a better design. On the other one, the way they had the in battery sear, the valve knocker housing right here was kind of used as a lever. so it would deform and kind of wear out. This one, I don't see that happening. I'll show you the bolt. The bolt basically just has a screw at the bottom that slides over it like this. So this steel is hitting a steel screw that's screwed in like that. I'll show you later. Also, I like the fact that they really beefed up the bolt stop on this. This thing is steel. I can show you. So that's steel. Everything else is steel, just like it was on the SEW9. So that stuff is all steel. Sorry. Also, the mag release is ambidextrous. Bolt release, ambi, fire selector, of course, ambi as well. So yeah, I don't. Oh, also there is this little pin right here, which is steel. So what this is for, on the stock, at least on the real B&T stock, there is a little section right here that will clip into the stock, the folding stock. So that's what that is there for. I don't think the airsoft versions actually have that little section where you can clip the stock in right here and hold it, but that's what it's there for. So that is the lower. Also, one more thing. This, I've been keeping track of how many rounds are on this guy using my Ace Tech Tracer. It has about 154 rounds on it, but you can see the hammer has worn down quite a bit. This little buffer on the hammer has worn down quite a bit. So we'll see if that is actually an issue. On a normal AR or VFC hammer, this little section right here is not rounded. It's kind of square, so it comes up and goes down. So you have more meat on a hammer. This one, they rounded it and added a plastic buffer. When that buffer wears out, it causes issues. So we'll see. All right. For the stock, this is pretty much just a stock. I removed the plastic little buffer that comes with it and just inserted this buffer that I made. So the idea is basically, this is a pretty soft spring, but the actual diameter of the spring is pretty wide. So basically, this is just to increase the rate of fire. I did not short stroke it. This is technically the exact same length as the buffer would be, but the idea is that this will use the force of the bolt as it's traveling back against it. So basically, it'll like shove the bolt forward as it comes back and hits this spring, right? The spring will kind of throw the bolt forward just to increase the rate of fire. So that's that. Let's talk about the bolt really quick. Spring guide is just same as the SEW9 and the SPC9, but it is weaker. That spring is actually really weak. I like it, however. It should give you good winter performance, but we'll see. Pretty weak spring, but I haven't had any issues with the bolt returning the battery. So there's that. Here is the bolt. It looks almost exactly like the SEW9 bolt. However, it does have a AR style nozzle. So a few things about the bolt. One, here is the same countersunk screw that's going to hit that steel bolt stop. I do have a little bit of damage on the bottom, but that's to be expected, you know, because sometimes the bolt will barely miss it. The same screw at the back to hold the nozzle in. Right here, when I was performing the drop test is basically you just insert the bolt like that, and you just do like this to see if the bolt can drop freely, right? If you can't, you know you got an issue somewhere. So I was doing that. I noticed that sometimes, it only happened twice, these little flares or protrusions on the nozzle would get stuck. They would hit the feed ramp. So I took a file and I just rounded these off to like a 45 degree as best I could. So did the fronts, and I did the sides right here on all of them, and I haven't had that issue since. Also, this bolt had a lot of I guess lateral movement like this. So I just took some plastic, some really thin plastic you would find like on a toy package or something like that, cut it to length and super glued that into the sides of the bolt. So basically, it's just to prevent that side-to-side movement. I could probably get away with one more on one side, but I'm not gonna sweat it. I think this is good enough. So that is pretty much everything I did to the bolt. it's a pretty standard bolt. I don't see anything really failing. I do like the fact that they give you that little tiny port right there to bleed the air out. So I do like that. It also retracts pretty quick. Now they did have some grease in there, a little bit too much grease. It was just everywhere. So I just removed that and added a little bit of some other grease that seals pretty well. It's going to be hard to really test it, but yeah. So that is that. So on this model, on SEW9, there were only 3 bolts to get the hop unit out. On this one, there are 7. These three, and this one. To take the handguard off, it's just that screw and that screw. So let's do that. And now this should just slide off like that. So once you get that off, there are 2 steel tabs to basically center the handguard. That's what it looks like on the inside. So this thing is actually like crazy light. This won't be a true test of the weight because I have a bunch of stuff on it, but let's just see how heavy this is. 242.1 grams, so that's pretty light. Also, let's get the mass of the bolt. 167 grams. That's how heavy the bolt is. Let's also do the stock really quick just to see. 421.5. So everything's pretty light. Now let's get this out. The shorter screws are towards the back, so keep that in mind. You take this thing apart. The one thing I will say though, this paint, whatever paint they put on here, like I drug my nail across and you can see it's on there, but then it wipes off. It's kind of rough, kind of textured. I don't really like it. And then this last screw right here. Alright, so these are all of the screws to secure the hop unit. I'll set those there. And it should just come right up or down. So if you want to see inside of the upper, there it is. The charging handle actually is designed, it has 2 little, I don't know what you call it, grabbers, protrusions right here that are C-shaped. And they basically clamp onto this tower of the hop-up unit. And that's what keeps it from falling back. I'll show you really quick. So, see, it can slot forward, but once you go there, that locks it. One cool thing you can do, I'll probably do it on mine. You can super glue a magnet right there. This screw is steel, so you can basically super glue a magnet right there, and that way that magnet will hold it in place. The reason I'm saying that is because one thing I've noticed is that this recoil spring is very weak, and sometimes I've noticed it does struggle to, let's say the bolt is like this and your charging handle is just loose like this. Sometimes the charging handle does struggle to push the bolt back into battery and secure the charging handle right forward on this let's put that in there. So remember, this thing has to like click. It requires just a little bit more force to click. So sometimes that weak recoil spring will struggle to push the bolt back into battery and click the charging handle in place like that. So that's what I'm saying. One thing you can do is basically remove those little C clamps, super glue a magnet right there, so that way the charging handle will still stay forward, but it won't, the recoil spring won't need to try and force this thing to clamp over that hop-up unit. So hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so here is our hop unit and barrel assembly. Really quick, the way this thing works, I'm going to take it apart and show you, but really quick, you're basically turning this, which turns a giant threaded bolt in here, that's going to move this rod back and forth, and there's a lever in here that is pivoting up and down, and that's what applies your hops. So, and we'll take that off. So there's a screw down here and 2 pins, but we can't get that off until we take this off. Wrong. Also, one more thing, if you guys take this apart, please use the correct bit. These screws on the hop-up unit do have thread lock on them. So one, use the correct bit. Also, you want to use a screwdriver that has a wider diameter so you can have more leverage, and press really hard. If you press down really hard, you'll basically prevent yourself from stripping the screw or ruining a bit if you have like a really cheap bit. You don't, normally I would say apply heat, but you don't want to apply heat because you don't want to take a chance and ruin your bucking. So okay, so there's that. Here are the screws for this one. Also, we have these. So as soon as we get these screws off, we should be able to pull like that. Okay, there's a hop unit. This is just recoil spring right here. Actually doesn't really, I don't think it actually does anything. Nothing actually compresses this spring. I think it's just there for looks. You can see when I turn that, how it moves. You can actually push it all the way out. So there you go. Here you can see the threads on there, or the teeth, and then there's no real reason to knock this block off. You can, you would just undo this Allen key and then screw and then knock these 2 pins out, but there's no real reason to take it off. If you need to put that back on there, you just spin it the other way and it'll pull that lever back in. But yeah, that is the outer barrel. Okay, now we can open up the hop unit. There we go. So, really quick, make sure you have these 2 screws right here when you take this apart, because they're just floating there. There's nothing really there to secure them in. So I'll just remove that. So, well, there's the feed ramp. You see right there. This will obviously be the back. You really can't put it in wrong, because if you put it in this way, hopefully you're paying attention and you notice your feed ramp is gone and this little thing is sticking out. It shouldn't be. So this is the correct way, like that. Let's slide this out, this out. Also, if you're trying to put this thing back together, make sure this is in this little groove right here. So it sits like that. That's basically to prevent the arm from like going left or right. So it keeps it centered in the correct spot. Also, if you notice, there's that. there is no indentation on the outside of the bucking to actually, tell you when it's at 12 o'clock. So just keep that in mind. If you guys are buying buckings for the ISO556, there is no indent on the outside. So I think you can get any bucking you want. You'll just have to shave off. You just have to shave off the little indent. Okay. Now, so we are right at 20, almost 21. It's 207. 207 millimeters is the length of the inner barrel. Now, if you want the inner barrel to be flush with the barrel, the outer barrel right here, it's going to be 246, if I'm not mistaken. So that's that. And I mean, that's pretty much the whole gun, or gas blowback rifle. Like I said, I really like it. It's a really great platform. I've been waiting on this thing for years, actually. One thing I might pick up for it is the folding B&T stock. I really like the look of that stock on there. They do give you one of these V3 magazines. I did go ahead and swap out the inlet valve to a dual stage valve. Same full auto function, draw fire function right there. I prefer the look of the V-Mag though. So you guys can see. Only difference is on the V-Mag, the fill is on the bottom. But yeah. So that's the ISO556 by Maruyama. If you guys have any questions, or if there's like some measurements or something you want to see, just let me know down in the comments. This magazine is cold. Here we go. Very exciting. That was the last shot at 350.6. So fresh mag. Let's do full auto. Just gonna clear this out. All right, here we go. Try it again. Nod. Fed all BBs. Here is fresh mag. Do semi. 348.5. 345.6. 347.6. 344.5. 346.9. What the hell is that? Wow. So, alright, as you can see, this thing fell off. Yeah, let's keep going. Let's see what the full auto is on this. So, here we go. 14.1, getting some gas. Let's try to shoot it from back here, see what we get. 11.2. So, yeah. That is the Maruyama ISO556.